when you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality? Who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Hi, I'm John Mallows. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me here on the showroom floor on this day. It's a Friday, and today we're talking with Sheriff Margaret Mimms. This is a live program. It's not taped, so you're welcome to call in. We'll talk about all sorts of topics and subjects here today on this Friday. 436 MeTV option 11. Do turn down the sound when you call in. Remember, this program today, 1 hour from 10 to 11 o'clock here on a Friday morning. Back in a moment. Back here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Friday morning. Glad to be with you at 10 o'clock in the morning, live here on this program. 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in. Do turn down the sound. I know we get a lot of calls sometimes between 10 and 10:30. Usually we run a tape show at that time, but today we're going to go a full hour because one of our favorite people here in Fresno is on the program again today. She's been here several times, and you know what? She generates a lot of phone calls when she comes on this program. Has each and every time. In fact, I think she has the Connect with Me record. But we're going to talk about politics, we'll talk about guns, marijuana, and we'll talk about one of the most heinous crimes that took place last week here in Fresno County. It all happened about a week ago when a group of young people, about 4 people, were in the process of trying to strip a pickup truck, and then something happened. It was a tragedy. Let's go to the videotape, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. That, according to the Fresno County Sheriff, Margaret Mimms, the farmer, 38-year-old George Salwasser Jr. was shot and killed, and the 4 being held in connection with his murder had bail set at $1.5 million each. Their first hearing took place on Tuesday, but was continued until May 22nd. This is the scene where it happened. In fact, friends and family placed flowers in the exact spot where Salwasser was shot. This video, by the way, courtesy of the Fresno Bee. Live in our studio right now is Sheriff Margaret Mimms, who will talk about this case from a law enforcement perspective. She will also talk about other topics here on our program today, like marijuana, guns, politics. We'll get her take on the DA's race between Smitcap and Egan, and anything else that you may want to chime in about here on Connect with Me. 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in, but I urge you, please do turn down the sound. Glad to have you along on this beautiful Friday morning. Back in a moment.
Station 51. Station 51. Television is in dire need of help. Emergency. Paramedics John Gage and Roy DeSoto, please report to MeTV immediately.
LA, Squad 51.
Dr. Brackett and Nurse McCall are awaiting your arrival.
Please stay with me. Just this one thing. It's very important.
Emergency.
Never thought anybody'd find me here.
Fire department staff. What's the address?
On MeTV, weekdays at 5, 4 Central.
10-4.
You know, I must say, every time the sheriff is here, she generates a lot of phone calls, so you'll have plenty of time today between 10 and 11 a.m. to call in with a question or two. Do not call in and make long, arduous commentaries about what's going on. Just get on the phone, ask your question. I'm sure the sheriff will be glad to answer it here on Connect with Me on this Friday morning. Sheriff Margaret Mimms, always good to see you. We appreciate your time and coming in again. How are you, by the way, this morning?
I'm doing great, John, and it's always wonderful to be here. I have a good time whenever I'm on Connect with Me, and I enjoy it.
Well, we were mentioning this yesterday, and we were excited to know that this week was the week that you were coming on because you're one of our favorite guests.
Wow.
You generate so many phone calls. How do you do that?
Well, I'm in a profession where people may have a lot of questions, and it's a joy to me to be able to answer questions and kind of educate people about the sheriff's office and what we do and how we try to serve the public. And so it's enjoyable for me.
But you're not bashful to talk about it either. Your position and what your job entails and informing the public. You like that, don't you? Educating people?
I love that part. And I think what the public appreciates, even if it's bad news, even if it's something they don't maybe even approve of, I have to be a straight shooter, so to speak. I have to be able to say, this is the way it is. This is what we're dealing with. This is reality, and we live in the world of reality. And we're faced with a lot of challenges, but facing them straight on, straight ahead, being honest with the public, forthcoming, I think is the most important thing we do.
See, I think that's the thing I like most about you is your honesty, you're straightforward, you call it the way it is, no matter, if somebody likes it, fine. If they don't like it, this is reality, this is a situation. How do you explain this heinous crime with George Salwasser Jr., trying to defend his property, 4 young people come along, bang, bang, a guy is dead. He's only 38 years old.
Right. There is no rational explanation for this. A lot of times when law enforcement respond to violent crimes, all parties are involved somehow. They're all gang members. They're all involved in some kind of drug dealing. But in this case, when you have a completely innocent person not involved in anything except checking out suspicious activity on his property, that's what happened. And as he arrives, he sees what's going on, and we get a 911 hang-up, and it's from his cell phone. He was not able to complete his call.
Because he was shot.
Because he was shot. Family man, 4 children, married. I was out at the scene the next morning after this happened, and I went and I met with his parents. I met with his wife, and it was just awful, just a horrible, horrible thing to have to go through. But my promise to them is we are going to work hard on this case to find justice for George Salwasser. That's our job now. He no longer has a voice. We have to be his voice.
These 4 young men that were involved in this, do you know anything about them? Do you know their background? Are they gang members? Were they just out having fun, and then all of a sudden it got out of hand? What happened?
Well, they weren't out just having fun. A car had been stolen from Fresno. They took it out to that location to strip it.
Okay.
3 of the suspects were men. 1 was a woman.
Okay.
The person that actually did the shooting lived in Biola. He lived near that area. 3 of them, the men, all have criminal histories. The woman does not. So the person actually doing the shooting is not the one that stole the car, but he is the one that committed the actual murder, fired the weapon. However, they're all being held accountable for murder because it was in the commission of a felony when Mr. Salwasser was killed.
So they were stripping the vehicle right there on his property, and he went out to find out what's going on, basically.
That's correct. He received information that something funny was going on, so he just went to check it out. And when he got there, he was shot and killed.
And he wasn't armed, obviously, right?
Well, we're not talking about a lot of the details right now.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
There's a lot that even the investigation, even though charges have been filed, the investigation doesn't stop. And I think that when I talk about educating the public, they think we might respond, make an arrest, put them in jail, then we go to court. But the investigation continues that whole time. There's still witnesses to nail down their statements. Making sure we're processing any DNA that we might have at the scene. It's a lot of work. And all the time we have more cases coming in. So we have detectives who get subpoenaed to testify in court, but in the meantime, they may catch another homicide. And I have to tell you, the work that these detectives do are a real testament to the dedication that deputy sheriffs have to serve the public. They work that case all night long. It happened about 6:15 in the evening. They worked all night long until they had done as much as they could, grabbed a couple hours sleep, and were back at it again. So that's the kind of work that it takes.
So the investigation is ongoing even when the trial starts. You're looking and investigating things that could be brought into evidence during the trial. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. If something new comes up, we have to follow that lead.
Yeah. Got a phone call coming in. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. What's your question, please?
Terrible, the heinous crime that you've just described on air. And it brings to mind, I think this happened inside the city confines, but the infant child that was found in the canal, I don't know how much commenting Sheriff Mimms can do about it, but the coroner is going to take a pivotal role in this, I guess, to determine if it was a homicide or some other serious crime. Do you care to comment on that, Sheriff Mimms?
Well, I'll tell you what we do in law enforcement. Out of respect for mutual agencies, I will never comment on another agency's case.
That's a case where the Fresno Police Department is handling, because Jerry Dyer, the police chief, talked about extensively in the last couple of days, that case.
It would be very unprofessional of me to comment on another law enforcement agency's case, and so I don't do that. I will kind of segue, though, however, in January, the sheriff's office will be the sheriff coroner office.
Right.
And so we will have some coroner responsibilities, all the coroner responsibilities on cases. So Dr. Haddon will be retiring.
Right.
He's got this case now. The job of the coroner is to figure out the identity of the person as well as the way and means of death.
Let me ask you about that, because I've had people ask me, even on this show, and I don't know the answer to the question. I'm not an investigator, and I know that there are a lot of defense attorneys out there that may want to challenge you once you become the coroner. The chain of evidence was tainted, or this was damaged, or you didn't handle this properly, or do you expect some of that criticism and maybe to be challenged in court once you become not only the sheriff and the coroner? Well, you're going to stay the sheriff, but then once you become the coroner.
I expect the challenges. However, we are the 49th county out of 58 to have a sheriff coroner's office. So other agencies have figured this out, and of course we're already meeting with them. We'll come up with our best practices and make sure that conflict does not occur.
So if they can figure it out, why can't we?
That's exactly right.
Okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a fellow from Squaw Valley, California. I just had a question or a comment for Margaret.
Can you please turn down the sound on your TV, please?
Okay.
We can hear that background sound. Yeah, not good. Are you there, caller?
Yeah, I just turned my sound down.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
The main comment I would have for people out there that experience a crime or see a crime going on in their area is to don't go out and confront that crime yourself. To call the sheriff's department. I know we're up here, we're a little bit remote, but within 15 or 20 minutes when we call, the sheriff is here. I've had that experience with shootings up here. The drug labs and the marijuana grows up here. Just a question for Sheriff Margaret Mimms. These folks are illegals that are on this property. They don't own the property, and they are armed with AK-47, AR-15 rifles.
Wow.
And we do not approach them. We don't confront them. We call the sheriff if there's a shooting going on, and the sheriff does respond. It's happened a couple of times in the last few days.
Okay.
That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you much. Go ahead and respond to that, and then we'll go to break.
Well, he's exactly right. Be the best witness you possibly can. And some people want to criticize Mr. Salwasser for even approaching these people, but he didn't know exactly what was going on. And the only people to blame are the ones that committed that crime.
Right.
That's where the finger of blame should be pointed. But the caller was right. If you see something or suspect something and you have the ability to stay away and call us, we will respond. We will be there.
What's the response time on average? I don't even know. I should have looked it up, but I didn't.
Yeah, our average response time to a 911 emergency call is 13 minutes. For a sheriff's office, that's not bad.
And anywhere in the county, pretty much?
That's our average countywide.
That's amazing.
13 minutes. And so, for instance, on the scene in Kerman, we were on scene in 14 minutes. So things happen that quickly. But I want to commend the caller, though. He did say, please be a good witness and call us. Don't feel like maybe it's nothing, you don't want to bother us. That's what we're here for. You call us so we can check it out.
So your advice would be to all the residents out there in Fresno County, do not confront anyone who's on your property or may come to your door or knock on your window because something like this could happen. Is that correct? Is that your advice?
That's my advice.
Call 911. Don't get into any confrontations, even if you have a weapon.
Even if you have a weapon, sometimes people may feel a sense of false security if they have, for instance, a concealed weapons permit. But the level of training that you get doesn't rise to the level of a combat situation.
Yeah.
You have it if you have to protect yourself and your life. However, the best thing to do is be a good witness. Make sure you have the person's description, a vehicle description. Be the best witness you possibly can.
All right, we're talking with Sheriff Margaret Mimms here on Connect with Me today, 436 MeTV option 11. And please do the right thing. Do call in, but turn down the sound when you call in because we're getting all this feedback and then you can't hear us and we can't hear you. Yeah, nothing like that live combat situation. You want to avoid that if possible. It's even difficult if you're a trained officer, a trained deputy, and they train all of their lives for those situations, and even sometimes they're not ready for it. So do the right thing and call either the sheriffs or the police, and don't get into any confrontations. We're back with our interview with Sheriff Margaret Mimms in just a moment.
I love playing cowboy.
Come on, let's go.
I'm an old cowhand from the big old grass, and my legs ain't bald.
If you're looking for a fight, you're gonna find it.
Say, you reckon this thing is loaded?
Sheriff Margaret Mimms is here. Good morning. You're on the air, caller. What's your question?
Oh, I just wanted to tell Margaret Mimms what a great job she's doing, and thank God we have a sheriff like Margaret in place of that office.
Well, tell me your name.
My name's Kelly Cadwallader.
Hey, Kelly. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to me.
How about grooming Bobby Kandarian to take your place?
You think he should be the one, huh?
And keep in mind, just because Jerry Dyer endorses something doesn't mean anybody's going to like him.
Well, listen, we work together well, and I think that's the message that the public needs to hear, that we're working together to keep you safe.
Love your job. Love your job, Sheriff Mimms.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. A good call here on Connect with Me. And so, how is your working relationship? Let me ask you, as long as you brought it up with Jerry Dyer, how is it? I know that they were talking a long time ago, probably years ago now, about combining the departments and having one person be the sheriff and the chief. That's never going to happen.
Well, I think both are so big, it would be difficult. The smaller cities in the county would make more sense, but to take two very, very large agencies would be very difficult.
I know.
The smaller agencies make more sense to me. And to answer your question directly, we're both professionals. We work hard together. We regularly meet, not with just the city of Fresno, but the other 14 cities in Fresno County. I think people forget about that. We have 15 total cities in the county of Fresno. 14 of them have their own police chiefs. We have monthly meetings with all law enforcement in Fresno County.
Okay, you're both in law enforcement. You're both the heads of your department. He's appointed. You're elected. But the responsibilities for each department between you and Chief Dyer are completely different. Are they not? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well,
I mean, that's the way I see it.
The responsibilities of a sheriff's office is different. You pointed out a major difference. Being elected rather than appointed is one thing. But like police department, sheriff's office are responsible for frontline law enforcement. And in addition to that, so we've got what the cities have to do in addition to running the jails, running court security. We take care of all civil actions in the county.
Now you're going to be taking over the coroners?
Now we're going to have the coroner's office. So it is frontline supervision, frontline enforcement, as well as all those other things. It's a huge responsibility, but
the supervisors can't remove you. But with Chief Dyer, he has to answer to the mayor and the city council and the city manager, and so it's a completely different animal.
It's different. A police chief answers to the city manager.
Yeah.
So that's who they negotiate their contracts with and sign their contracts. The sheriff is responsible to the people.
Right.
And that's it. It's a terrific honor to be able to do that.
All right, another call. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. Your question today.
Hi. I just wanted to ask if she can say something about that defense attorney, I guess it's in the paper, using Fresno County Sheriff and I guess Madera County as an excuse for why the defendant crashed and killed a man and had the car.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it was in the news. That's the question.
Sure. I'm not sure why the defense attorney even brought in the district attorney's office in that particular case. But a couple of weeks before this man crashed, he had been booked into the Fresno County Jail. The way law enforcement communicates with each other, we have what we call a teletype service. So we send out, be on the lookouts, notices. When we get somebody arrested on a warrant from out of county, we send that county a teletype saying we have your person. They have a certain amount of time to come and get that person. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. This particular case, Madera County didn't come and get this person, so statutorily I can't hold him any longer. By law, I have to release them because it went past that time.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
So,
okay.
and then what happens, he gets out, and a couple of weeks later he has this accident. And as it turns out, Madera County, their jail, they were doing some remodeling, and their teletype system was offline. And so that's why they didn't get
and the jail
notice.
is not really run by the Sheriff's Department in Madera County. It's run by DOJ, right?
The County Department of Corrections.
Okay, Department of Corrections, I'm sorry.
Right, they
not
have
DOJ,
a separate...
yeah, it's a separate entity.
Separate entity from the sheriff. It is a separate Department of Corrections.
Right.
So that's how that all happened, how that kind of unwound.
Yeah. Now, let's get back to the gun issue because, it kind of ties into the lead that I had today with George Salwasser Jr., who was shot and killed last week by a suspect on his own property. And I want to roll some videotape. I mean, we all know what guns look like, but you are a big proponent of concealed weapons permits. Yes. Explain why.
I think it's important for several reasons. First of all, it's guaranteed in our Constitution. The Second Amendment says those rights shall not be infringed. And so that's reason number one. The second reason is there's not enough law enforcement out there to protect everybody at the drop of a hat. And I think it's important for the bad guys to know we have a lot of concealed weapons out there in Fresno County. Yeah. You never know when you might confront somebody who can protect themselves or someone else.
What do you tell people when you go out and speak? How does a person know? Let's say they have a concealed weapons permit and they own several guns and they're law-abiding citizens. Okay, it's their right to have to bear arms.
Right.
What do you tell them as to how to know when to use it? How do you know when to get into that, you properly get into that confrontation and have to use it? When is the proper time?
You need to be able to articulate, if you decide you're going to use your weapon, you have to be able to articulate verbally why you felt in personal danger, not just to yourself or maybe somebody else. The beauty of our current CCW system is to get that weapon, you have to go through a concealed weapons class where they go through all of those scenarios as well as legal ramifications. If you use your weapon, you can expect to get sued.
So you can't go out and initiate it. You have to be able to defend yourself. You have to be able to tell not only the sheriff deputy that shows up at your residence, hey, I was defending myself. I wasn't the aggressor in the case.
That's exactly right.
Am I correct about that?
That's exactly right.
So that's what a concealed weapons permit is for defense. It's not to go out and, protect someone else or initiate a confrontation.
It doesn't make you a law enforcement officer. It gives you the right as a citizen to defend yourself.
And not defend someone else.
Well,
defend yourself, right?
It might be somebody else. What if it's your family? Sure.
Or a friend.
Okay. Just keep your mind, you have to be able to say, this is why I felt that I was in safety or my friend was in safety.
Right. And
or
so
in danger.
I think you brought up the most important point, though, Sheriff Mimms, is that Just because you got that concealed weapons permit does not make you a law enforcement officer.
That's right.
Got to keep that in mind. Okay, you're not a sworn officer either on the sheriff's side or the police side or any, or the highway patrol. It's for defense only. Sheriff Margaret Mimms is here, 436 MeTV, option 11. Do turn down the sound. We're talking about all kinds of subjects here today. We're here until 11 a.m. live in our studio. Back with more in a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Back here and Connect with me on this Friday morning and with Sheriff Margaret Mimms talking about all sorts of things here and concealed weapons permits and how to defend yourself and what to do. So you take those classes and they teach you pretty much everything on how to handle the gun. In the state of Georgia recently, and I talked to you about this on the radio on Power Talk with Bill Manders here a while back, they passed a law, and the governor signed it. By the way, we have a phone call. I'll pick up on that point in just a moment. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. I hope you have your sound down. What's your question?
Hello, yes. John Williams. I'm 65 years old. Concerning the CCW permit, I understand that the city wanted $100, the class costs $85, and the renewal class costs another $75. Is this a standard price, or do the police have a different price and the sheriff department have a different price? Hope you understand this question.
Yes, sir, I do. And the departments have different prices because what we do, I don't make money on our CCWs. I don't think we are not in the business of generating revenue. The way our charges work is I just need to offset the cost that it costs me for my personnel to do this. And
So for processing and everything else?
Right, and what I do is I pay retired deputies who have investigator experience. So I know when they send me that packet recommending a CCW, I know it's good stuff, and I sign them. But it's different depending on what the salaries are of the people, of the agency that's processing the CCW. My costs are very little because it's not a full-time employee. It's an extra help retiree who gets an hourly wage to do that. So it keeps those costs low. But it does vary agency by agency. The one standard fee that's the same for everybody, I think it's a $35 processing fee just to submit the fingerprints to the Department of Justice. But other than that $35 fee, it's going to vary by department.
Do you look at each one that crosses your desk? Each request?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. The only time that I will see is when they send it to me with a recommendation or the ones that they say, Sheriff, you need to look at this. I think we should deny this one.
Okay. Good morning. You're on Connect with me. Your question, please.
Yeah, I wanted to find out if a person with misdemeanors can be considered for a concealed weapons permit.
The answer is maybe, and I know that's a lawyer's answer, but it depends on what the misdemeanor was and how long ago the misdemeanor occurred. Because I have given CCWs to have somebody that has had misdemeanors in their past, and enough time has passed where they've been to the court, they went through the probation, it was a one-time deal, I understood that, and I've given a CCW. But it depends on two things: how long ago and what that misdemeanor was.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, my wife and I both went through Fresno PD Citizens Academy a little while back, and actually might be doing some volunteering myself. But yeah, I will submit what I need to. I thank you for your time.
You bet.
Yeah, I guess if you have a DUI or get convicted of some other misdemeanor, or maybe even the charges might be dropped, let's say, you'll consider that.
I will consider that. And again, if it happened at a long time in the past, there's no problem. If it's an indication of other things that might be going on, I would have to think about it. So.
Who makes the call, yes or no? Does it lie strictly with you, or are there other people in your department that are just as qualified as you are that make that call?
We have other people in the department that will do an initial denial, and that person can appeal to get that, to have me take a look at it. However, most of the time they're right on the money.
Who's looking at the requests in your office?
We have our initial submission is to our detectives in the CCW unit, and then it goes up to the assistant sheriff, who has really he's been around for over 40 years in the sheriff's office, who makes the decision on that.
And if there is a major question,
forward.
It will go to you.
That's exactly
directly,
right.
and then you'll make the final call.
They do a really good job. I've been able to articulate what my philosophy is, what my expectations are, and so they know what I want.
Right.
And
so in a lot of cases, they don't even have to ask you because they know.
They know. They know
Made
that
it clear.
if it's at all possible that this person gets a CCW, they're going to get one.
Hey, so like I was saying before, in the state of Georgia, they passed this law now. You can have a concealed weapons permit in a school, in a church, a post office. And we're looking at one right there, a young lady pulling something out of a purse there, a gun. And so what do you think about this? I mean, do you like that idea, what they did in Georgia?
I would like for the schools especially.
Yeah.
I think the last person that should have the decision-making call on that is the person in charge of that campus. You know, what do they want going on their campus? They're going to have the decision-making on, yes, I do want people with CCWs, or no, I don't. And I will tell you, in Fresno County, most school superintendents do not want guns on their campuses by anybody.
Right.
So I think just a blanket in the state of Georgia it might be okay for their superintendents.
They have a different culture down there.
It is
too.
a different culture. It is. And I suspect, you mentioned church, there's probably people that go into churches right now. There's nothing statutorily that prohibits people from carrying a weapon in church.
You wouldn't know. I mean, it's concealed. It's supposed to be.
If you are abiding by the rules of how you obtain a CCW, it must be concealed.
Here's the question I have, and then we probably got to go to break. I don't know where we're at time-wise here, but the question I have is, if somebody would have had a concealed weapons permit at Sandy Hook, maybe somebody could have taken that young kid down before he shot and killed all of those innocent kids.
That is always, when it comes to hindsight, that's always what people say about that, and I believe it to be true.
You agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just so sad to even think about that. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Your question for Margaret Mimms, please, the sheriff. Caller?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you there? You got to speak up quick. We're on the air.
Okay. The reason I'm calling, is all of this stuff that they've been talking about, there's always a way out. I always thought if you did the crime, you would have to pay the fine, okay? These guys that have committed murder, and they're in jail for life, and they've been in there for 20 and 30 years, and they're still there, there's no need. In other words, they should do something with them. These guys that steal cars, and then they put them in jail at night and let them go in the morning because it's a nonviolent crime, what they should do is have a place about 200 or 300 miles out in the desert and make sure they have food to eat and classes to learn something, and don't have nobody watch them. And just make sure they've got food and stuff to eat, put them there for 6 months, then bring them back and bring another crew out there. You would stop a lot of crime doing that. And it wouldn't cost the state that much money.
Well.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, talk about being direct. She's got an idea.
If we only could, in the state of California, did you know that we have a prisoner's Bill of Rights, where prisons and jails have to perform and provide very regulatory provisions for the inmates, all for the inmates' benefit. if I did not do this, they would shut down the Fresno County Jail. Every day we have about 3,000 people in jail.
About the bare minimum, the necessities.
I'm telling you that we have to make sure that we provide the right number of calories, carbohydrates, and proteins in their food, that it's served at the right temperature. We have inspectors that come in periodically to test the temperature of that food. We have inspectors to make sure we have the right number of square feet per inmate that are...
They come in and measure?
Oh, absolutely. They know what our measurements are. So very, very regulated. If we only could, I would agree with it, if we could only get away with it, but we can't.
Wow. And I'm sure they have dental and health care in there, if they're in there for any length of time, right?
Yes, they do.
Good morning. You're on Connect with me. Your question for Sheriff Margaret Mimms, please.
I wanted to ask is, how does the sheriff think that we're doing as a county? Because with the shooting in Kerman with the grower Stallwasser, and then the two guys that wrecked out here near Reedley, who ended up being shot, they had gunshot wounds.
Yeah.
As far as during the investigation, how are we doing as a county? Because I'm a county resident, and I'm looking at the show, and I'm thinking I should give me a CCW, or are we doing okay? Is it the Wild Wild West out here? Okay, thank you.
You bet, and thank you for your call. I will tell you that our crime stats from 2012 and 2013, burglary is down 30%. Robberies are down 50%. Even auto theft is down 26%.
What's the reason for that?
Well, of course, I want to brag and say it's great policing.
It's Sheriff Margaret Mimms.
And
Go ahead.
The cases, we're working really hard to solve these cases and make sure the right guys are in jail. But here's my point to this caller's message. If you don't feel safe, I can tell you all day long about how crime is being reduced. And it doesn't matter if you don't feel safe. And so that's a concern of mine. The message is that we have these things that go on. We're working hard to solve them to make sure that the people that we can keep, because we're always full, but we're trying to keep the right people in jail.
All right. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Your question, please. Turn down the sound on your TV, please.
Okay, I'll turn it down even more. Okay, it's down completely.
Yeah, go ahead. Your question? You're on the air.
No, I don't really have a question. I would like to commend the sheriff on her professionalism and her willingness to enforce the law in the spirit of the law as opposed to the letter of the law. And I hope she continues to do the job that she's doing now.
That's a great comment.
That's a good point.
Is he right on with his comment?
Well,
would you say?
I can answer that by telling a story.
Go ahead. Yeah.
When I was a very new deputy, I get a call at a supermarket. And it was an elderly couple, and they had walked out and they had stolen food.
Mm-hmm.
These weren't career criminals. These weren't bad people with they had absolutely no criminal history.
Yeah.
They were hungry.
Yeah.
And that kind of points out the difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Did they need to go to jail? I didn't think so. I worked with the supermarket, and we were able to get them to a place where they needed to go to get the help that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the supermarket has the last say on, no, I want to press charges. And had they wanted to do that, I probably would have written a citation to this couple. But we were with law enforcement, with the supermarket. I would like to say their name, but they may not like it. But I want to commend them for, when it comes to problem solving, sometimes the answer to the problem is not automatically just to take them to the jail. How do we solve the bigger problem?
Yeah. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. What's your question?
Hi. I have a situation in my neighborhood, and I just need to have some clarity to it. I have you can more or less guess he's a meth head. He's up all night screaming, and they fight over there constantly. Guy works on his roof in the middle of the night. The police have been out there at least a dozen times. Fire department's been out there for him, like fires in the backyard and stuff, and he never seems to be doing any time. What exactly should I do?
Do you live in the city or the county?
The city.
Yeah.
And the police have been called. One of the neighbors across the street has got a restraining order against him. He's pulled a knife on neighbors directly across the street from me. I live catty corner to him, so I'm not in direct view of it, but it's crazy. We don't even want to go in the backyard anymore because of situations.
Yeah. I don't know, does the person own or rent the house?
He lives with he's like 55 years old. He lives with his mother. He's been arrested for beating her up, beating his girlfriend up. Like I said, lighting fires in his backyard. And it just...
You know what's difficult, especially with family situations like that, is when you have a victim of a crime, you have to count on them to follow through with pressing charges. And so many times, family members will either drop charges or not even press the charges to begin with. So that's a very difficult. From the behavior you've described to me, that's this typical methamphetamine behavior, up hours and up days. That's typical of that behavior. The reason why I asked if they rent or own is many times you can hold the owner of the house responsible for activity that goes on. They just have to know about it. So getting a hold of whoever owns that house can be important.
Yeah. Okay, caller, thank you for your call. We got to take a break. Sheriff Margaret Mimms is here. Another call coming in. We're going to take that after the break. 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in with your question. Do turn down the sound. Back in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here with the Sheriff, Margaret Mimms of Fresno County. If you do have a question, you can call in at 436 MeTV option 11. A lot of time today. We're here until 11 o'clock. Of course, we've been on the air here live since 10 a.m. And when you talk to people, do you get the sense that the people of Fresno County feel safe? What are they telling you?
Most in the community are like the callers I'm hearing today. It's kind of a split, a mix. However, what I think is important in helping people to feel safe is to know they've got a good partnership with their law enforcement agency. For instance, even though it was very difficult, I made the decision that we are going to continue to respond to calls for service. And I know there's some agencies that say, you have a burglary or a vehicle theft. We don't go to those calls anymore. Because they don't have the staffing or, they want to have the time to do other things. I did not do that. I tell people, when you get a call and you want a deputy sheriff, you get the deputy sheriff. I am not going to agree the one time you need us to say, no, sorry, we don't go to those kinds of calls. We will go. So it might take a little longer these days to get a deputy, but if you have a crime, you want a deputy sheriff, you need a deputy sheriff, they're going to be there.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Your question?
Yes. I was wondering, in Arizona, they got where tents out for the prisoner. Was wondering if that would help here.
Sure. Great question. And I get asked this a lot.
I'll bet you do, because I was wondering the same thing. I know, Sheriff Pye. That's right.
The thing that a lot of people don't know, not only do they have the tents, but he also has to provide an air-conditioned day room. That they've got that on the same site.
He's under constant attack, though.
Yes, he is. And I will tell you again and repeat, this is California. I tried in 2008 with Mike Reynolds to get the ability to house inmates in less than what we have to house them now, the restrictions to kind of cut through some of the red tape.
And what happened?
Didn't pass. It was Proposition 6 in 2008. And it did not pass.
Yeah. Well, this is California. That's Arizona. But, he is under constant attack from those that say he's violating their civil rights. Yeah. And that's probably the issue that was at the forefront in 2008 here in California, because I don't have to tell you, we're so much different than Arizona in terms of thinking.
Absolutely, we're different. And our voting base is not the same constituency. They don't have the same philosophy that we do here in the Central Valley.
Different political climate.
Exactly. In the Bay Area and Southern California, where the largest populations are, they don't have the same mentality philosophy that we do here.
Yeah. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I just had a kind of a statement. The gun ranges have started to, like the one down on the river, has stopped accepting new clients. We need more places to be able to train and to learn about weapons and the safety of weapons. We can't take our kids to train. How are they supposed to know what's dangerous or what's right? That's kind of my statement.
Okay.
And this is kind of inside baseball, but this caller knows a little bit about what some things that are going. There is a range down on the river that he mentioned. It was called the Fresno County Peace Officer Range, and members of the public could join and go down and shoot. They are in the process right now of selling that range to the Sheriff's Office Foundation for Public Safety. So there's going to be a change of ownership between some nonprofits.
Okay.
And so the current owners, the nonprofit that has it now, have canceled some of the classes and some of the events that were going on. Once the ownership changes, then they'll be able to figure out, where they go from here. But one of my concerns, and I've expressed this to the Sheriff's Foundation, is that I want to continue our partnership with the public and the private CCW instructors who use that range to train. It's going to be important to continue that.
They use that range to train people for concealed weapons permits.
Yes, as well as law enforcement. For instance, the Sheriff's Office uses that range,
Right.
Clovis PD, the Highway Patrol.
So it's multi-use.
Absolutely, and we want to continue that private partnership.
Hey, if you don't mind, I want to change the topic a little bit. Some aerial photos or video of some marijuana pot grows. As you know, the Fresno County and also the city of Fresno banned all pot grows. I don't care if it's medical or otherwise. Everything is banned in Fresno County. You read in the paper probably within the last couple of weeks court challenges to this. Why all the pot bans across the board, in your opinion? Well, you know what? Let's take this call first. Good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I know Sheriff Mimms is a very busy person, and I'm just curious why the Bill of Rights thing that you try to push for prisoners to eliminate would be better suited for her to go and push that versus endangered species list. We have a lot of background noise in your end, so it's hard to hear.
Okay.
I'm going to hang up.
All right. Thank you.
I'm not sure what his question was.
I'm not sure what his question was either, but he's talking about the Endangered Species Act, so we'll move on because I didn't totally get it either because I'm not sure what that has to do with law enforcement.
Well,
but pardon me.
His first part was Prisoner's Bill of Rights.
Prisoner's Bill of Rights. I don't know. I didn't get the whole question, but as long as we're on the topic of water, since we do have a shortage, are you concerned at all about people stealing water?
We have had people steal water before, and I, as a deputy, I'll tell another story to show the point. There was an accusation of water theft when I was a deputy, and we actually put dye in the water and followed it from this canal into this farmer's property where it was coming out to prove that he was in fact stealing water. But there are those techniques. It's happened before. It's going to happen again, and it might.
Will it increase? Do you think
it may get even more severe?
That's another thing you got to worry
this.
about. So
Just one more thing.
Back to the pot grows. Okay, how big a problem is this? Number one, and why the ban across the board?
Well, the ban took effect because the public and the law enforcement and our board of supervisors are tired of people taking advantage of something that was supposed to be considered medical use marijuana. Now it's nothing about the medicine, it's all about the money. It is so lucrative to grow and sell marijuana that people are willing to take the chance of being arrested.
Is that the number one problem in Fresno County, or would it be gangs? Would it be methamphetamine? Would it be, what is pot number one?
Pot seems to be the central, I'm going to call it orb, where all of these other things orbit. Because involved in that are gangs, involved in that are home invasion robberies.
Cartels.
And so it seems to be really the core of all of that activity that's going on. And for instance, in Fresno County for 2011, we had 6 homicides as a direct result of marijuana cultivation. So it is when it comes to problem solving, I want to get to the core of what the problem is and get rid of it, because the other things will go away. And marijuana seems to be a big problem for us.
Wow, number 1 in Fresno County right now, I guess, huh? Amazing. I don't know. There's a lot of wide open spaces out there and a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover for the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. It's a difficult problem to get your arms around that. Anyway, we're talking with Sheriff Margaret Mimms here on Connect with Me, 436 MeTV option 11. Do call in. Plenty of time left. Back in a moment.
Remember me? After practicing law, Raymond Berg fought crime.
You have the right to an attorney.
As a hard-boiled detective on wheels.
Ain't it the truth?
His name is Ironside.
Perhaps you wouldn't mind saying it again.
His name is Ironside.
All right, now you've said it.
Nothing slows him down.
I want to see this one firsthand.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
What are we waiting for?
Back here with Sheriff Margaret Mimms, and 6,000 square miles in Fresno County, you said, and so that is an enormous amount of ground to cover. For how many deputies on staff?
We have about 400 deputies. Just over 100 are assigned to the court services contract. So to answer calls for service, we've got just a little over 200, but remember we have to carve out of that our homicide detectives, our sexual assault detectives, the deputies that serve civil papers, and so we get spread thin pretty quickly, especially when you figure you have to staff that 6,000 square miles 24/7.
You have a helicopter, right?
We have a helicopter, we have a airplane, we have boats, we have sea-doos, we have snowmobiles, we have horses,
so
we have bicycles.
Do it all, but you could still use more deputies.
Absolutely.
By the way, I'm not volunteering.
Raise your right hand, John.
No way, man. No, I mean, no way, Sheriff Mimms. No way.
We love our job. We have 6,000 square miles of beautiful, beautiful Fresno County. We are larger than 3 states in the Union. Did you know that?
I
3
know.
states we're larger than.
I know. It's a huge ground to cover.
Yeah.
And so you do a great job. But getting back to the plants, the marijuana plants, we have some video. I want to roll on that. So you have people on the other side say, look, I need this stuff for medical use. Can I grow it in my house just for a little bit?
Yeah.
Just for 6 months or a year. It is legal to do that, right? I'm a little confused about the law now because you banned all pot grows. Can I still legally grow it in my kitchen if I want for medical use?
Fresno County has banned all indoor and outdoor bans.
Even if it's medical?
Even if it's medical.
So if I need it, I have to go to my doctor with a prescription?
Well, even now, for medical marijuana, did you know you don't even need a prescription? It's a recommendation. That's why the law is so fouled up.
It's confusing.
It's very confusing. The Prop 215 did not legalize marijuana. It gave people an affirmative defense should they be arrested with marijuana for medical purposes.
Yes.
That's all it did. And what happened now, the interpretation is it's legal. It's all a free-for-all, and that's what's happened. It's just become out of control. And now we're tracking marijuana grown in Fresno County all across the United States. We have tracked marijuana from here in at least a dozen other states in the Union because the prices are more there. You can grow it here and sell it here is cheaper. It's about $1,200 a pound. But you go to Boston and it can be $4,000 a pound.
Why? Why is it so much more expensive?
Supply and demand. We have the supply, the demand is across the United States.
And in Massachusetts, they don't have the supply.
That's right.
Basically what it boils down to. And so you're going to continue. I mean, they could legalize it here. It could get on the ballot. Is it too early to pass judgment on what's going on in Colorado? Because they recently passed it.
Everything I've seen coming out of Colorado is negative. An increase in young people using marijuana, an increase in vehicle accidents involving people under the influence of marijuana. I have not seen anything positive. Even the revenue that people were counting on to legalize isn't coming through. I think they wanted like $20 million to as a result, it was like $3 million last year. So the revenue's not even coming through, which is
I'm
a
sure
poor
you've
reason.
seen all the stories, especially the one on 60 Minutes. They said it's going to generate millions, maybe up to $20-40 million a year in revenue for the state of Colorado. That hasn't happened. I think it's only about 2 or 3 thus far, from what I've read.
And what I say about the revenue, the money, is so what? What kind of society do we want to have? What kind
Potheads?
of message
Yeah.
do we want to send to our children?
Yeah.
My position is our future is not for sale for any amount of money.
Yeah. Roll the videotape on the Fresno County Jail. You know, I think one of the last times you were here was kind of funny because we had an interview with one of the inmates there complaining about the jail conditions, and I'm paraphrasing now. I think what you said was, hey, don't do the crime, and you won't have to do the time. It's as simple as that. So what say you, Sheriff Mimms, to all the inmates who have complaints about the food, the conditions? We know people are being let out. What do you say?
Well, the message is if you don't like the conditions, then don't do things that would cause you to be in those conditions. However, I will say that people in the Fresno County Jail probably get better food, better physical care, better mental health services than they do when they're not in jail. Because of the standards that we have to conform to, constitutional
you mentioned
standards.
that earlier. Yeah.
So my position is if they come into jail, they're probably getting a healthier diet than they're getting when they're not in jail, and in fact, better medical care when they're not.
What can we do about these inmates that are just constantly being let out? I know you don't want them out.
Well,
but what do you do?
Right now we have we're working with the courts. That we have some judges that are working with us to take a look at we'll call it a more robust pretrial program, as well as how do we save bed days? Is there some way we can speed up the court process so that we can make inmates go through the system faster? So we only have 3,291 beds. It's all we've got, and we're full all the time.
Yeah.
And so now we have to take a look at, as a system, not just the jail, but as a system, what can we do better so that we're more efficient and maybe move people through quicker?
The DA's race between Egan and Smitkamp has turned into a nasty one. I mean, one is accusing the other of this, that, and the other thing, and Smitkamp is saying, hey, look at all these inmates being let out. Well, okay. In reality, Egan doesn't have anything to do with letting inmates out. So both sides are throwing dirt at each other. I know you're backing Egan. Yeah. What do you make of this race? I mean, what does any of this have to do with being a DA? Any of this dirt that's being tossed around?
Well, nothing. What it has to do about being the DA is you're the department head who's responsible for staffing, budgeting, working with the other justice partners, looking at the big picture. And the reason why I'm supporting Elizabeth Egan is because she, as well as I, have gone through some very, very tough times. We've weathered this storm. Things appear to be getting a little bit better. It's easy to be a positive leader during good times. It's much harder when things are tough. Things have been tough.
But see, here's one of the things I admire about you. Yeah, you're a law enforcement person, no question about it, but you're also a great leader. You command the respect not only of your people, but of the general population who voted you in. Does Elizabeth Egan have that same respect or command to be able to do what you do?
You know, I haven't seen the polls because one of the ways we tell is we poll.
Yeah.
We poll people, and so I haven't seen those polls. I know that our base is pretty much the same, Elizabeth Egan and mine. But I have a lot of respect for her because she has made it through some tough times, and we're pulling out of it.
Sheriff Margaret Mimms, oh, I adore you. I love it every time you come on the program.
Well,
I hope you come on again soon.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, good luck. Sheriff Margaret Mimms, always glad to see her and have her here on the program. Back with another edition on Monday. Hope you have a great weekend. Al Perez is our guest on Monday. We'll see you then, and take care.
From the pages of history and the untamed prairies of a young nation comes one of television's and America's most memorable folk heroes.
Daniel Boone was a man, yes, a big man.
Well, you're Daniel Boone.
Yep. Fess Parker stars as the legendary Daniel Boone, with Ed Ames as his trusty sidekick, Mingo.
Pleasure indeed.
A Kentuckian named Daniel Boone.
That's me.
Watch Daniel Boone weekday mornings at 9, 8 Central on MeTV.
Do you like me?
Just like me.
Like MeTV Fresno on Facebook. Get the latest news, interact with others, watch videos, become a fan of me. Exclusively brought to you by Ventura TV.
Frigidaire. It means the first electric refrigerator. The first compact electric range. Now, there's the Frigidaire Gallery Range with Symmetry double ovens. It's designed to cook multiple dishes at multiple temperatures, so you can prepare the entire meal at the same time. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.